Hey, this is Russ Bain with Role Playing Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 205, Labyrinth Signal. What is it? It's a new RPG I've been working on for quite some time, and I finally posted the beta PDF of it to the RPPR Patreon last month, but I wanted to explain a little bit more of my design philosophy, and of course, we have good friend of the podcast and regular cast member, Caleb. How you doing, Caleb?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
To talk about the game you wrote.
Yay!
I think based off me failing so many times in a D20 game, it became comical.
That was actually one of the inspirations.
I feel myself in this game in that it was so traumatic an experience of failure that you designed a game around that never happening again. Which I appreciate, yeah.
Yeah, no, one of the inspiration was the 13th Age campaign we both played in, and just like, there's got to be a better way in making Caleb fail roll after roll, because even 13th Age's approach to like solving bad, rolling in a D20 game wasn't enough. The escalation die was not enough. So, but yeah, we'll get in, and of course, but I mean, it's not the only inspiration as this.
No, it is.
Yeah.
This came from me. Yeah. You're welcome. I just want everyone to know.
Yes, so. Yeah.
I am the muse. Yes.
But before we get into that, we have a bit of RPPR news to go over, because this episode is going to come out before Gen Con. So let's talk about Gen Con for a little bit. Gen Con is coming, and we're both going to be there, and we have so much fun stuff to do there. We have some official events there. Let's take a look here. So we're doing multiple panels, and I'll have links to all of these in the show notes. A panel on Introduction to RPG Podcasting, a panel on Just One More Role, Writing Mysteries for RPGs, which Caleb and I are both going to be on because, we both had done a lot of mystery writing for RPGs. And then Blood-Soaked Mayhem, Action and Horror in RPGs, which is obviously related to Labyrinth Signal because Labyrinth Signal is an action horror RPG. And we're going to be joined by some of the people from Pretending to Be People, Delta Green podcast, also based in Springfield. And so that'll be fun. But then there is cast member Dan is going to be doing a panel on Tableside Intervention, a conversation for GMs managing mental health symptoms at the table. And then we have a couple game-specific ones that you're doing, Caleb. There's the Delta Green panel.
We'll do the Delta Green and Arc Dream Presents panel on Thursday. And it'll be me, Ross, Ken Height. And we'll be there to answer whatever questions I'm allowed to answer from the esteemed elders in Canada that give me my marching orders. But it's normally pretty fun and a good conversation. And then I will also be doing a panel discussion with anyone who wants to talk to me directly about the beta test of Red Market's second edition. I am up to 8 player feedback forms. So I am now officially at 1 player feedback form per month. It has been out. So if you just want to come yell criticisms at me, I'm just going to be furiously writing things with a pen. But otherwise, we'll talk about the game, and it should be a good time.
Yeah, we will be recording these, and I'll be putting them up on this feed.
Thank God, I've forgotten shorthand. They don't even teach that in school anymore.
Yeah, and then finally, of course, we're doing an RPPR live episode on Saturday night. And that'll be, live recording and then just a hangout, RPPR meetup, like as we are wont to do. And
not a rigidly structured variety show.
No.
We cut back on the pyrotechnics budget from last year. Yeah,
we did. Yeah, maybe we'll have some more wedding proposals.
Sting was busy.
Yeah, Sting was. Yeah. I got Seal offer, but I was like, I don't know. You're kind of one-hit wonder, Seal.
Oh, how dare you! You're off the party planning committee. If we had Seal and you gave that up, if I could have gone to the RPPR meetup and been kissed by a rose, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. Well,
really screwed it up.
He wanted a bowl just with brown M&Ms, and that was too much work. I wasn't going to pick through a bunch of bowls. Yeah, so
you efforted us out of the Seal concert.
Basically,
son of a bitch. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have, and of course I'm going to be recording some interviews there, hopefully, and we're going to be playing some games and doing a lot of stuff. So we'll do a post Gen Con episode to talk about all the cool stuff we saw and did at Gen Con. I'm going to be trying to do a laser tag game that's themed after Warhammer 40K, among other things. So that should be a lot of fun. So but we both are content creators, as that is the term for creative people these days. So
Oh,
Caleb,
Jesus.
Caleb, what's going on with Heaven on Games?
Well, now I don't want to respond because you called me a content creator.
I put myself in the same category.
That doesn't help. It's not great down here. I'm glad we're here together, but like,
Yeah.
ugh. Yeah, over at Heaven on Games Open Design, I am posting the Sunrise campaign, which is the playtest we did while I was writing the Red Market 2nd Edition beta. And I'm going to be putting more of those episodes up for free this month. So you could listen to more of the game that as it no longer exists on the way to Gen Con if you want. Or you could join Heaven on Games Open Design and listen to the whole thing. Then over on Dead Channels and deltagreen.ghost.io, we are posting all sorts of APs. Ross is currently playing in one with me, Faye, Bridget, and Thad called Intersect. And it's pretty weird as far as Delta Green scenarios go that I've written in the past. So if you want to see that before it's quite ready, give it a chance.
Yeah, I'm having a blast playing in it, and it uses material from the Labyrinth. If you want some ideas on how to use that book for Delta Green, this is a good example of how it could work in a campaign. And it's very cool stuff. So on the RPPR Patreon, we have some really good podcasts coming out. RPPR After Hours. My friend Chris found a really weird Cinnabar-esque, Cinnabar level of weirdness type RPG. It's called Crimin. It's over 800 pages long, and it's technically a superhero RPG, but man, it's a lot. So here's a clip from it. Chris, you were telling me about one skill you saw earlier that made you like, is this guy just shit posting as an RPG for 800 pages? Like,
man, okay. So Juicy had already brought up the whale biting. What's great. So I want to tell the story. So when you read this book, in order of pages, you come across a scenario that Juicy described where it's like, okay, there are two men trapped in the whale and they're going to use the skill whale biting to escape. And it takes 3 pages to resolve this. And, like Juicy said, you read that and it's like, it's an LOL random purple monkey dishwasher thing. But, when you actually read the skills and you get all the way to the end of the W's, he actually has whale biting as a skill. And he actually says right there, you cannot use this on any other animal, not dolphins, not seals, not walruses. You can only bite whales with this thing. And it's just 3 tiny paragraphs, but he's made sure that, no, I wasn't joking earlier, that they took 3 levels of whale biting. That's why they were able to succeed. So he antes up, and then when you call his bluff, he's like, no, it's here in the book, and you can only use it on whales.
I tell you, I got to that, and I made damn sure to give my character whale biting as a skill, and I invested 6 points.
You're a nautical character. That makes sense. That's
You're only
my father was eaten by a whale. I'm not going to go out the same way. Yeah.
But I mean, so, and I picked out some other wackadoo skills that are in here with their own descriptions. Probably the funniest one for me is nose picking. So he can do nose picking as a skill, and what I like about it is he's like, if you have a critical failure while you're doing your nose picking, you will do grievous damage to yourself, and so then you got to go to the grievous injury table and find out that you caved in your nose because you picked your nose too hard and some shit.
Yeah. There's also crazy legs where you're wearing fake mechanical arms and legs over your arms and legs.
Yeah. Total Iron Man job.
Then we're also doing another series called Mega Dungeon Meandering, where it's a deep dive series where we spend multiple episodes to look at one RPG scenario that's focused on, dungeon crawling or exploration. Right now we're doing the Parthenogenesis of Hungry Hollow, which is a liminal horror module where they have mapped out an entire small town that's slowly being taken over by a cult. And the cult are called the Apiarists because they're infected with evil bees, basically. So it's Cronenberg, but also the Wicker Man. And yeah, it's been really good. So here's a clip from that. If you just look at the map of the town, just as soon as something's funky, it's like, okay, clearly the boss fight's at the hydroelectric plant. It's off to the distance. It's off to the side.
Yeah, this is like this campaign's Shinra headquarters, if you will. It's the Hoover Dam from Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
The Pillar of Autumn for my Halo homies. Hyrule Castle. The kiln of the first flame. Now we have the hydroelectric plant to join that August tradition of the final dungeon.
Yeah, just looking at the overall map, like it's not even on the proper map. You see hydroelectric plant off to the right. So like, yeah, you just know. Oh, I also do like that they have that bookmark right here on the image. So that's it's a neat little PDF feature. But yeah, like this is clearly like this is the section of, if this is a Metroidvania, this is the inaccessible part that you're not going to get to until much later in the game. They're just showing, kind of hinting at. And then so that's pretty fun. And then finally, I've been posting scenarios like and PDFs. So the Labyrinth Signal, which we'll talk about in a second, is available. But also before that, I posted a Cthulhu Eternal scenario, which is compatible with all percentile sanity-based horror RPG systems called Darkfield, featuring art from Siren Head creator Trevor Henderson. You can listen to the AP now and get the scenario now as a patron, along with multiple other scenarios for Mouse Ritter, for another system-free horror scenario, and yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff out there. So, but anyway, let's talk about Labyrinth Signal. So, at its base, Labyrinth Signal is a D20 based modern horror RPG. And it is, as you can look here, we have a video version of it. You can see the cover art. It says Modern Dungeon Horror, and so, you know, game mechanics wise, I've been working on sort of versions of this RPG for a couple of years now. Last year, you know, it was like the Vaporwave, the Hauntology RPG, but it sort of morphed into this. And yeah, I will say one of the inspirations for this, at least game mechanics wise, was like, how could I make D20 combat interesting? And so this is my take on it, because last year, or, you know, we played in a 13th Age campaign, which I have recorded, but I'm not posted. I don't know if I will, where Caleb was a wizard. And yeah, you just...
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
Not a good one.
Yeah. It just seeing, you know, the whiff factor. I mean, D20 is such a swingy die. I mean, it's such a wide range of numbers that like you just have some problems with that. And but what I
am glad is that, like, because this I'm newer to gaming than pretty much everyone I meet, unless they're like far younger than me, because I didn't get into it until my like mid 20s. And the thing for years about like D&D and D20 games that like really got to me is like, I'd be like, well, I really can't do anything in those games. I don't really like them. And like everyone would be like, well, it's a skill issue. Well, you got to optimize your character. Well, you got to build them the right way, or else you can't do that. And it was like, it basically became like the get good of game mechanics. But I'm very glad that with like Lancer and with this 13th Age campaign, and with people like seeing me play a D20 game, knowing I'm a good role player and can tell that this is like killing all narrative momentum as a guy just stands there on the battlefield, ineffectually Star Wars kidding and hitting nothing. And knowing that, like, I want you to know that I know this is bad and I would fix it if I could, but mechanically I cannot. The dice say I don't do anything this turn, just like they did the round before and the round before that. And yeah, the best I could do is to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that like it's been witnessed now. So people are just like, well, you don't know how to do a wizard right. Well, your giant robot was built wrong as a joke. Like they don't get to like squirm out of it and say that's just how math works with probability sometimes. And I'm glad it's been witnessed by multiple people and recorded for science.
Yeah. So yeah, and in order to deal with this, so before we even get into the theme, let's talk about like how I wanted to solve the D20 part of this. So this is the beta PDF that you can get on the Patreon, but you know, I basically my thought was I really like the principle of fail forward in role-playing games, which is, you know, the idea that if you fail something, you know, a skill roll, a die roll or whatever, you still like progress the story. And that works in investigative games and in non-combat scenes pretty easy. Like, oh, well, you know, in Fate, it's the success, but with a complication, or Powered by the Apocalypse, success, but with a complication. Or in Fate, you know, there's a lot of tools to do that. But in combat, it doesn't quite work out so well. It's you either hit or you don't. And also like in horror, there's also,
you have to be able to miss in horror games.
You have to be able to miss in horror games. And, but the thing about a lot of horror in role-playing games tends to be investigative based, which makes sense because horror is, you know, the opposite of the power fantasy a lot of times, because, you know, in D&D, the idea is you become more powerful, you become more epic, you gain more power, and thus, you know, which is fine, but like horror is about disempowerment. You don't have enough power to just defeat the monster, or have a clean victory. So I wanted to solve these sort of problems of failing forward and dealing, being able to fight back against the monsters, but not being a power fantasy. And so the way I figured this out was through the combo meter system, which is the big D20 mechanic I have for this game. And the combo meter system is you have on your character sheet, you have this pool or points that you get, and it's right here. And so you started, and I made it up to 6 because, a 6-sided die could be used to keep track of it. You start at 0, and whenever something happens in combat, you gain points in the combo meter, and it caps at 6. And I wanted to make sure it's stuff that was going to happen regardless. You begin a turn in combat, you gain 1 point. You survive an attack. Some monster attacks you and you didn't die. Good job. If you take damage or it missed, whatever, you gain a combo point. You miss an attack on an enemy, you gain a point. Or you could spend an action to gain more points. Then certain items and abilities can increase them. And it caps at 6. And you get to choose when to spend them, either on your turn or when the monster attacks you. And then you have to spend all your points at once, because it's a combo. That's the idea. You're doing multiple actions, but you can do things like automatically succeed on an attack roll. You spend the points to negate the need for making D20 rolls is the main thing. Or you can risk it. You can gamble and gain extra actions and gain multiple attacks, but then you're choosing to give up the guaranteed hit for getting multiple attacks. So you don't have to, but I assume, Caleb, you would be going for the automatically succeed on attack roll or things.
Yeah,
like
I mean it's for a D20 combat system. It does what for a D20 combat system what I think Gumshoe does for a straight percentile investigative game system.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to succeed at some point to make a good story because it's an investigation, it makes sense to have a market or an economy for that so that you get a good story every time and you don't just miss the first clue and there's no more mystery. Similarly, if you're going to have a combat, it's usually better if the other side can fight back.
Yeah.
And D20 will not assure that for you in any way, shape, or... And so, yeah, it's sort of a point system to be well, it'll at least be an entertaining fight because you can do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
And the idea is you can pick, if you have, you get up to 6 points. And so you can choose from this menu of options. And so you could choose to do a precise hit and do more damage. But one thing is the enemies always hit with their attack rolls unless you defend, unless there's some other mitigating circumstances. If you're, if they only have a melee attack and you're at range, then they can't hit you, obviously. But enemies always hit unless you defend. So there's this sort of action. It also there's this thing in D&D in most combat systems where you just keep attacking every single round. But even in real fights, you just don't relentlessly attack all the time. You wait for an opening, you pause to catch your breath. You're kind of, waiting to see what the enemy will do. Real fights have this tempo to them that D&D or most RPGs don't have. There's no reason not to attack every single round in D&D, but in this system there is. You could just defend and build up a bunch of points so you can unleash a powerful combo on the enemy. And yeah, so enemies always attack, or they always succeed unless you actively defend against them. And characters only have they start out with 1d6, very few hit points, and enemies will do a lot of damage. But one of the other things about this RPG is that I wanted to make it sort of inspired by survival horror, the video game genre. And that's about attrition more than anything else. Your character can usually fight back against monsters, but you're never going to have enough ammo or health items to kill everything in your path. You're going to have to run or avoid most of the monsters you fight. But I didn't want to...
resource management.
Yeah, resource management. But in an RPG, I don't want to be there are items, of course, but I didn't want to have managing ammo and items as much. But TTRPGs have these things called meta currencies, and I like them. So there's Cheat Fate, with which I got the idea from Frontier Scum, which is a rules light sort of Merkborg inspired weird Western RPG. And in Frontier Scum, you have what they call the hat rule. And the first time you get attacked anytime you get attack in combat and your character's wearing a hat, you can just say the attack hits my hat, knocks my hat off. And at the end of the battle, you can make a save to see if your hat survived the fight. And so like you only have a handful of hit points, but you get at least one hit where you're not going to get killed. So Cheat Fate is basically like you start with 3 charges of Cheat Fate, and you can use it to negate attacks that would have killed you or temporarily suppress an unnatural power. And you recharge Fate through, it resets at the end of the story when you begin a new story, or certain unnatural powers or artifacts can give it.
But Ross, it's a meta currency.
Yeah,
How dare you put a meta currency in my D20
But
game? Do they still make those guys? Are there still like forge guys like that crawling around like under rocks and stuff?
I haven't seen them as much lately. I'm sure they're out there.
They've got to have died out. Right? Okay.
Because even OSR games.
I remember those guys. Those guys came at me for red markets.
Oh, really?
Which now looks like campaign through North Africa to your average gamer in terms of complexity. So, but that was, I remember those guys.
Yeah. Because well, it's like OSR games have meta currencies now. Merkborg has it's technically an optional thing, but they have a meta currency you can use for most of the same reason, to save your character from getting killed. And the thing is, one thing I'm pretty happy with is, the natural 20 roll is sort of a common thing for D20 systems. But like, I think tying D20s to attack rolls is a mistake, because it means characters can kill things much more easily than they would be otherwise. So what I did is the natural 20 can restore a usage of Cheat Fate. You have good luck, and it's a defensive D20 or natural 20 benefit, not an offensive one. So yeah. I think that, and if you already if you have full Cheat Fate, well then, you're already, I guess you're really lucky. You're fine. So, and then, you mentioned Gumshoe earlier. I did take something for Gumshoe, which is spending. And instead of making it, I wanted to keep this sort of I didn't want to have like skill lists and like very detailed things. So like instead, characters just have 4 attributes, and they can spend them. They can expend them. Like you have strength, intelligence, speed, and solidarity. And if you want to just succeed at a strength check, you want to lift up a heavy object or whatever, or kick down a door, you can just say, my character exhausts a point of strength. Your character's strength bonus goes down by 1. You can recover it through rest or healing or whatever. But then you succeed at that roll. And now I've done play tests where players are like, yeah, sure. Oh, we need to get through this door. We need to, figure out this puzzle. Okay, I'll just burn a point of intelligence to do this. And then, I played with Tom and Jason, who hate spending anything. And like, because you remember Tom and Jason in Tribes of Tokyo. And
I wouldn't call them like your base demographic for people you're trying to sell this game to. That would be how I'm going to be diplomatic on this recording.
Yeah.
There maybe shouldn't be your ideal reader on this issue.
And they would little
radical on that regard.
Yeah. And they wouldn't spend anything. They just hated the idea of their attribute going down by 1 point. And so, but it's a survival horror game. Your character's getting worn down, even if they do defeat the monster or a monster. They're going through it, and so they have to suffer. And in terms of like character unique abilities, there's the background, which you can use it to get an advantage on a D20 roll once per scene or perform an action. And that covers, your safe cracker, your doctor, or your exorcist, or, anyone with a special skill or unique thing. You kind of shove that into a background. But like, again, I'm focusing more on stories that are more focused on the action than like really in-depth character building. Because the other theme of this is modern dungeon horror. And So Caleb, do you play a lot of survival horror games, or what do you think of the genre?
I've played a few. I think the last one I played was Signalis. Like it's not it's not like an every release for me,
sure,
kind of thing. But we've played. What is it? It's not Killzone. We played Dead Space before.
Oh yeah. That's
yeah.
Yeah, Signalis is a good example of that, because in Signalis your character is armed and has weapons and can fight rather effectively, but like
But flares are worth more than gold.
Yeah, because like in order,
you don't want to backtrack through the screaming room.
Yeah, because the enemies get back up after you kill them, and you have to use that. So there's this like, it's action horror because it's action. You're fighting monsters, defeating them, or running, running around them. But like, it's also horror because they get back up. You're never gonna have enough to be safe. You're never safe in a horror thing, and so I wanted to emulate that. I also like Signalis is also very, if you look at it, she's just going through a dungeon. Like it's the whole thing takes place on this abandoned mining station on a remote planet, or somewhere else later on. Don't worry about it.
As always, the dungeon was Toxic Yuri all along.
Yeah, and I wanted a game to focus on modern day dungeon crawling, and I thought, again, something that, and so like characters can gain more power through like items. I did create some statted out items in here with varying levels of effectiveness, and including basically quote unquote magic items. But you're never going to be safe, and you're finding loot. You're fighting monsters, but like it's not in Signalis. It's not because I want to be the adventurer who saves the world. It's like I'm looking for my lost love, and she's somewhere down here. It's about resolving the story, and so like there is an experience system in Labyrinth Signal where you gain scars, and you can use that to improve your character. But like that's not the point, right? You're not trying to become the number one monster hunter or slayer. You're just trying to like whatever messed up situation you're in, you're trying to resolve it. So. But these are all just sort of examples of, in terms of game mechanics, of like what I want to be possible. And this is, this is not like necessarily the end. This is sort of the beginning of like my design thoughts for the game. So I also thought, because in the playtest scenario I put in here, Peak Nightmares, players could find a helpful NPC early on. And I realized, what if that NPC was basically statted out like an item that could help players? With special abilities and things like that. But like, they're not, statted out like normal characters. You don't run them like.
They're not taking up cognitive load from the GM.
Yeah. So just say like, if you help somebody, they give you some unique abilities, and as long as you keep them alive, like Vernon, the old hermit with a shotgun, has a shotgun, but he's a terrible shot, but he fires the shotgun in the general direction of the enemy. It misses, but distracts them. All players gain 1 combo meter point. And so that's a free action. Like that doesn't cost the players an action. So like that could mean a lot, the difference between 5 and 6 combo meter points. And they could take 1 or 2 hits from enemies, maybe, but and then so like I said earlier on, the monsters always hit. But I also didn't like necessarily monsters just being chipped away through attrition. So my other big thought in D20 combat is damage threshold. The idea that like monsters, the standard monster ignores all attacks that do 7 HP or less damage, but they have 8 hit points. So basically, you have to one-shot this monster. Now, obviously, and most weapons only do 1d6 damage. So the way this works is every time you hit a monster but you don't kill it, it gains a status called vulnerable. And vulnerable stacks, and basically each point of vulnerable adds +1 to all damage rolls to it. So, you hit the monster once, it gets vulnerable +1. You hit it again, you get vulnerable +2. Then you roll 6 on your attack damage. 6 + 2 is 8, so you manage to kill it. But it takes multiple hits to even kill a single monster, unless you use the combo meter, because the combo meter literally has a stronger attack, inflict +2 vulnerable status on an enemy. And this was Greg Stolze's idea to make weak auto hit, automatically succeed on attack roll, damage set at minimum possible roll. So you're just plinking away at the monster to set it up for a kill shot later on. Yeah. But, I've done a couple playtests with that, and that seems to work pretty well, at least so far. But, I will eventually release this to the public for playtesting. I might run a playtest of it at Gen Con. I'll definitely be running some more scenarios for RPPR actual play. And then, of course, this is a scenario. This is the one I ran for the podcast. But yeah, now that you've had a time to look over the mechanics, and you've done some of the earlier playtesting for this, where we're
I don't know what you were calling it then.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this now that I do also have like in terms of fighting, very limited like types of action you can do, attack, defend, maneuver to gain combo meter points, and then take a risk / stunt for everything else. Because, players will come up with ideas and you just have to have a simple mechanic. Yeah. So this is sort of like, an NSR / OSR type game. I'm not going for the trad RPG experience of like Delta Green or even Red Market.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's if you treat dungeoneering as just like a verb, as a thing people do, and not like this narrative expectation of like I have a wizard and a dwarf and a thief and you know what I mean, with all these like archetypal staples off it. If you strip all that stuff off and you just like it's people going into a dangerous hole with an uncertain chance of survival and reward, I think it's a good way to make that interesting without having like niche protection and stuff, because I do think that would be interesting, because it's not something humans have done since we like stopped killing bears in caves and stuff, but it is an interesting mechanical way to deal with that problem and make it tell a good story. Yeah,
and I think I do have ideas on niche protection actually, but it's like the idea I have is to make it like changeable.
Well, and what part of your niche is like Vernon is my friend, and if you want to hang out with the guy who's bad at shooting a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the support NPCs that can help out, but also like items. You can just like the tank is the guy who's carrying the riot shield that can block attacks automatically. And the DPS guy is the guy with the assault rifle. And so if you want to change roles, you can just change them. Or you have different support NPCs helping you with different abilities. Yeah, I think you have to get down to like what you think a dungeon is in an RPG, and it's basically a hostile environment where there's uncertain outcomes, and it's not like the town or the city where the presumption is that you're safe, except for maybe times you're not. And the dungeon is everywhere is dangerous except for maybe one or two. The safety is the exception, the unusual circumstance in the dungeon. There might be a place to rest, or there might be a helpful NPC or two, but like most of everything else is going to be dangerous, and it's isolated. There's not going to be reinforcements. There's no 911, and you're on your own. And that's what it really boils down to. And like survival horror games really thrive on that. Not just like Signalis is a good example, but also like one of the inspirations for this was Alan Wake. Because, Alan Wake, I'm a writer. I'm definitely not modeled on Stephen King or Dean Koontz in some way. And I'm definitely not inspired by Twin Peaks. It could be a forest or an underground subway or some weird city that he's been portal to. But, like, he's just fighting monsters and getting, batteries for his flashlight and ammo for his handgun. But it's dungeon crawling, and he has bosses to fight and things like that. And I think that's the reason why also the combo system works, is because like characters get power to fight back against monster, but it's very temporary, right? Like it's not like in D&D you get a magic sword that just makes you better at fighting, period, and you're just permanently more powerful as long as you have that sword. Or you level up and you get a feat that makes you more powerful, or you get more hit points. And the combo system, you once you get those 6 points, you can do a really cool thing like a critical hit, but you're once you spend those points, they're gone and you're back to square one. And once the fight ends, the combo meter goes down. And so you can work to get a chance to kill the monster, but you're never, even after you've gone through multiple sessions, you're still going to be threatened by like a standard basic monster, because one thing I found in the playtest is also players were a lot more aggressive towards the beginning when they realized, I have cheat fate, I can just survive this. But by the end of the scenario, they're like, I'm out of cheat fate. I really want to take a swing at this guy.
Everybody's got a point of will until they don't got a point of will.
Yeah. Red markets.
That's the way it is with every meta currency. When you give stuff.
Yeah. And then players could exhaust their attributes and burn every little bit of thing they had to help them out. But so that's kind of the main. If you were going to like looking through this, was there anything you spotted that you would have done differently? Or like, it seems Yeah, I'm still. I mean, is there any feedback for me? Because again, this is still in beta. I've played. Yeah.
I'd like to play it.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that,
Yeah.
It's not final layout or anything. So,
No, this is just me messing around in design. Like I want to.
I'm not gonna do the ludonarrative dissonance promise of like bitching about your font or anything. Yeah. No, I'm interested to see how it plays.
Okay.
And what other people think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd like to play a full game of it that's not just like, let me try this dice mechanic, which I think is the last time we play tested it.
Yeah, that was the combat playtest where like, okay, I need to tweak the numbers and it was sort of coming together, but it took some more. One thing talking about the game design process, a lot of this was just like working on it for a couple days and then just thinking about it for like a week or two before coming back to it. Like it was not me working dawn till like I would work on other things, obviously, like the podcast and freelance work and stuff like that. Like, did you have a similar process with Red Markets of just like work on it a bit, then go away, then come back, thinking about it fresh? Or was it more
I just think,
yeah.
Well, I don't think it's like a problem most people have, but I have found that if you're going to do this work full time, you're not going to be able to do just one job just because that's not the nature of anything the industry can support in terms of like, I'm a marketer, I'm a writer, I'm a editor, that kind of stuff. But I don't think you can do just one job just because like, I don't think your brain can handle like that much focus on a single task. Like a lot of people burn out real fast on creative projects and then don't go back to it because they didn't switch tracks. The trick in doing creative stuff full time is that you can't switch tracks. So I've found that I have to switch tracks like more frequently. So I never am working on like one book just because I need to sit there for a certain number of hours every day. And sometimes I can't work on Red Markets another day. And I can't do this. I can't write about Delta Green or read Delta Green research material for another day. And so I gotta come up from air into a different project. That's how I'm wired. But also what I would suggest to people if you're going to do it full time, because focus is good for getting things done. And, the perfect is the enemy of the good and all that stuff. But you do have to switch tracks. You cannot, the playing video games is part of it sometimes because you just can't bash your head against it any longer and you need a break to think through a block. Yeah.
Yeah. One other video game that was a big inspiration for me was Crow Country, which came out last year. It was a retro style survival horror game set in an abandoned theme park. And again, the characters going back and forth, fighting monsters that would respawn and like picking up items and like really interesting plot. Like it does. Yeah. So I just want to throw that out there, but, I think that's 100. That's it. Like I had to sort of think about it, recharge my batteries after I would spend a couple days working on it. And then I come back to it with a fresh perspective on it. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. And then, which tended to work out. So in terms of my own plans for this, my goal is to have this to be like a sort of short core rules, like a book, like maybe the size of Merkborg or Mothership or something like that. Like not like a huge manual, but but then do really big setting books. Like I did recently watch that Quinn's Quest review of Mythic Bastionland, and the author of that, Chris McDowell, I believe, talked about in how he likes rules light but flavor or setting deep, like lots of setting material but not much in the rules. And I'm kind of the same way, so I want to have some big setting books for Labyrinth Signal, and one of them is that I plans for is doing a new run of Cointract Island, which is a campaign I ran on RPPR Actual Play, and I pitched as a Fate system RPG, but now I can rework it as a Labyrinth Signal, and that's basically Jurassic Park / BioShock, but with blockchain technology. And now I have to update it already, because like when I was doing Cointract Island, it was all NFTs were all the rage, and now I have to rewrite it to make it all
have to update it with Control F. Like it's the same assholes doing the same shit.
Yeah, but now I have to add in AI stuff. Yeah, it's not going to be a huge amount of work, but
I wouldn't. Yeah, you act like we're reinventing the wheel. It's the same dickheads, the ones who didn't get put away for fraud. Like I
have to replace NFT with AI.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Not that big of a lift. I got faith.
But yeah, I do want to do that. Cointract is the whole book of this island overrun with like genetically engineered monsters with cybernetic implants running blockchain technology. And what could go wrong? And then the other thing is something I've been talking about on the RPPR Patreon. I've done some artwork, like this picture here on the right is the working title is the modern mega dungeon. And the idea for that is, what if there's a mega dungeon that was accessible on Earth? Like it was in a pocket universe. So the geography of it is different. It's very, very big, but like people from Earth have been able to access it for hundreds of years. And so there's hundreds of years worth of weirdos and explorers who have been leaving behind stuff in this place. And now you get to explore it. And so like one of the levels would be like a 19th century subway system modeled after the Tube of London. And obviously, basically every generation, a group of people come in and they try and build in here and build their own society or whatever. And then something horrible happens and they all die or flee. And then
like seasteaders.
Yeah, like seasteaders. But like it's like underground and not the ocean, so that their stuff doesn't just like disappear. Like it's left behind. You can find it, 100 years later.
I hate it when the gangs from the libertarian catacombs come up to raid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
sheriff's always got to deputize some men for when the warlocks come out.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be like a bunker level below the subway that's like more Cold War, like paranoia and like mad scientists and stuff like that. And
they're inbred, blind, pale, soft citizens.
Yeah,
the subway is a boat, and you're not.
Yeah. So that's the idea that's the big campaign setting I want to run with this, and obviously do shorter adventures as well. I'm really inspired by like Mothership having such a robust market of scenarios and adventure settings and campaign settings, and so that's the major idea with this. But yeah, that's what I'm going for. So if you go to Gen Con, you want to talk to me about it, I'd be happy to. But otherwise, I'll be expanding this PDF and eventually releasing it to the public, probably after I write another scenario for it. But yeah, is there anything else about Labyrinth Signal that we haven't talked about that you want to mention?
I know I'm weird on the blue sky design spaces nowadays, but I won't care until I play test it. I just want to see it in my hands.
That's fair.
That's all.
Yeah, I do need to write another scenario for it. So
I know it's a cringe to play the games that you've written, but call me a sentimentalist and old fashioned.
Yeah. But yeah, again, thank you, Caleb, for failing so many times at rolling a D20 above.
I'll do it again.
5. Yeah, no, you will. So I really want to see what happens when you have here's the thing. The way the system works is you could just I spend it to automatically hit and do damage. But are you going to be like a gamma and be like, well, I could just take an extra roll though. I could roll twice and maybe do double damage.
I am the cooler man. I know it's not. I know those dice don't work in my favor.
Okay.
I'm gonna take these. I'm gonna take the surefire option. Trust me. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe once or twice when the surefire option pays off, then I'll immediately fail and go back to realizing what my hands do to dice. So yeah.
I mean, there's also teamwork options. There's an assist option to give an ally a combo meter point and an advantage on their next D20 roll. And you can even do chain things, activations where you can tag allies in to act after you and counterattack. When I did the actual play the actual play episode, Peak Nightmares, one of the players, V, was like, "Oh, I was so excited to get to look through this and figure out different number of actions I could pick out." So there is some strategy to it. So.
Oh yeah, you need those people playtesting too.
Yeah,
that won't be me. Just FYI, but
you'll just pick.
They'll be there.
I will
probably talking about meta currencies, and I will be ignoring them. But you shouldn't, because they have good input.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I just want to give everybody sort of an overview of what my thinking was for Labyrinth Signal. The hauntology stuff, the vaporwave stuff that I've been talking about in previous episodes, and I've been working on. It's still there, but a lot of that stuff, earlier design work I did, I think I could rewrite as scenarios or specific settings for Labyrinth Signal. I realized I needed a more robust overall system, and I think this is it for modern action horror. So, but yeah, we'll see how playtesting goes. But yeah, be sure to check out Hebanon Games and on Patreon and DeltaGreenGhost.io. We'll have links to that. Delta Green Dead Channels is a very, very good actual play series of Delta Green episodes. Even the ones I'm not in. Yeah. So,
which is rare.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded like the wolves scenario, and what was the Hawaii one? I mean, those
Rejection.
Yeah, Rejection sounded pretty wild. Yeah. But yeah, we'll be at Gen Con, and we'll be bringing back so much stuff from Gen Con. So many games to talk about, and panel recordings, and maybe I'll get some video interviews in. I've been already contacting some people to see if they're available to be interviewed. So, but yeah, and I realize also
microorganisms, government bugs.
Oh no! Oh,
box made of jasper wood, sealed except for one who has the key. So many things.
Did you get a press release about that? Like that sounds kind of
a big giveaway.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to check out the links in the show notes and, listen to the Labyrinth Signal. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.